And wait for it. We're live. We did it. Here we go. Oh my goodness. All y'all in the chat can, we love you, but you can all fuck off.
Yeah, sit on attack, everybody. Don't you know what I'm saying? Don't even. Hey, Jeff McKinney.
When it was the left shoulder is where the towel ended up.
My left, your right.
And we were talking about that even before we saw the chat. All right. So I think we're all set. Corey, do you have any other questions or anything before we get this thing going?
No.
No, he's like somebody.
He was okay with it a couple of minutes ago when he first signed on. Now he's not sure. We've got closer to actual game time, and he's sweating. I can see it. You can see it on his brow.
I think it's the towel. I need to know more.
It's my whoopee. Yeah, it's my whoopee.
All right. Here we go.
This is Mark Scythe, author of A Short History of Drunkenness, and I like drinking too. Therefore, I like the I Like Drinking podcast, where you never drink alone.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 1 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing the impact of COVID-19 on the beverage industry. And we're going to turn you on to a new podcast revolving around wine and guns with one of the creators of Dueling Pistols, Corey Blake. So crack open your beers, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking! Are you trying to do a PSA for how to handle hygiene there, Jeff Sullivan? Is that
you know what it was? Like, I didn't realize I was muted. When John, I always love when we listen to it afterwards because there's a delay between us, and you do your 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's always off in the final mix.
Yeah.
And so I was gonna do my blah 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 thing, and I didn't realize it was muted. And then after I do that, I go to hit the mute so I can cough, and then I realize that I was in like backwards world, man. It was the worst thing ever.
You were in the upside down.
Hey, can I do something real quick for our number one fan, Chris Kern of the award-nominated One Bourbon, One Shard, or One Beer podcast?
Sure.
Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 1970s. You jerk.
I love it when we do things for one listener. That's just the best.
Yeah. We're all on quarantine. It's only inside jokes, everybody.
So cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 271 of your favorite award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun, which we've been having it for about an hour now already. So that usually is a good thing for you all. Make sure you never...
Wait a minute. What? Hold the press. Solomon.
Yeah.
Hold up that glass.
Yeah.
What the fuck is in your glass?
It's either orange juice or kombucha.
That looks like a hazy IPA to me.
If I'd have known it was, I wouldn't have bought it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Excuses.
So Corey, as you can see, it's all pro stuff here. Inside joke to one listener, visual aids for a podcast. Yeah, we know what we're doing.
I still feel like we need to disinfect Solomon's microphone. I'm just concerned for his health.
I gave tens of listeners an ear infection before we even started.
So, folks, as you can tell, this is podcast gold here. So make sure you never miss another episode of our brand of drinking fun by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe. All right. You've heard us all talking. You've heard us all laughing. You've heard a spit take or two. So let's find out who we're drinking with tonight. We have our usual panel members. We have our California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador and recovering wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Shalom.
Our commercial brewer and snake wrangler, John Ruyak.
Hola.
And I am your host and certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. Now, our guest this week is the creative behind the recently released Dueling Pistols podcast, a unique serialized podcast set in the Old West that follows the lead up to two men facing off with pistols in hand. The podcast is a companion to Terlato Wines, Dueling Pistol Wines. The two premium California wines made of competing varietals in a 50-50 blend where each varietal fights for power, balances that of the other, like the compelling characters that tell the story in the podcast. Please help us welcome Corey Blake. Welcome to the show, Corey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Love to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on the show from the north side of Chicago, right?
What?
Yeah.
That's right. North Shore, baby.
So are you fully locked down at this point? Can you leave the house or?
I mean, like you guys, I think for us, for whatever we determined essentials are.
Yeah.
But for the most part, no, we're really all needing to stick around. I think Illinois is the fourth or fifth state in terms of most infected, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty. When I do like it, just I went down to get the trash cans and bring them back up, and I see people out in the neighborhood like walking together, a bunch of kids riding bikes, and I'm like, what world are you living in, man?
Right?
Ooh.
It freaks me out.
Yeah. We just had some arguments about that in my neighborhood today as well.
People riding too close.
No, like people going to the park and climbing all over the jungle gyms like 8 deep.
Oh God, come on.
Yeah. Anyway, you can find the Dueling Pistols wine brand on Instagram at Dueling Pistols Wines. Terlato Wines at Terlato Wines, and Corey Blake himself at Corey Blake 9000.
Way to keep us on track, man. Nicely done.
That's like
Real.
that's like three times Andre 3000 from Outcast.
That's right.
3 times, yeah.
Yes.
Tres leches. Yeah.
So now, if you are interested in Terlato wines, you need to listen to this podcast as well to learn how to get 15% off an order of 2 or more bottles, plus free shipping. No spoilers here, though. You got to listen to the show to find out how to get there. So, all right, that's it. Welcome to the show. Let's get into.
I thought, are we done? Am I finishing your thought?
Hi guys.
We didn't punch the camera.
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet. All right. So, Jeff Solomon, are you all set for your bit?
Yeah, I thought we were going to talk about what we were drinking tonight first.
Yes, we could do that. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah.
People need to know.
All right.
Yeah. So, hey,
I didn't say I wanted to start with you.
That's okay. It's my show. So,
what's a big glass?
Well, since I was listening to Dueling Pistols, and Terlato has a couple of blends that they like to promote using the podcast to do that, I thought, and Sharon actually had a Zoom wine gathering with one of our friends today, and I opened up a blend from our friends at that winery, Vivac. I got in the mail on last Friday, and they sent us this Abbott Red, and Abbott is a family down the river from them, and this is a 2018, and it was kind of a down year production wise. They wanted to release Syrah and Cab Franc, but they didn't have enough grapes, so they did this 50-50.
Oh, nice.
Cab and Syrah, 50-50, Abbott Red.
Right.
It's delish. I mean, I'm very proud of myself in that, and Sharon should be proud too, because we were drinking it, and she says, "This is really jammy." And then I look on the back of the label, and it says it's jammy. And And it is. And it says the tannins are bold. I think the tannins are nice and smooth. Website says wait till 2023. Screw it. I'm drinking it now. I like it. Thanks, guys up there in Dixon.
That's awesome. Thanks, Michelle. All right, Solomon. I guess we can listen to what's in your.
Well, we've been talking about being all locked up. I thought it was really cool that the one functional brewery in Gilroy right now, they've essentially turned into the milkman. I made an order of some crowlers online yesterday from Promised Land Brewing, and today I get a text from them with a picture of the 4 crowlers that I ordered next to a bottle of sanitizer sitting on my front door. And they said, check your front porch and let us know. And I open up the door, and the guy delivering, he's out at his car watching me, like waving the sanitizer and the towel and everything. And so, yeah, I got several crowlers. This one is the Hand in Hand Simcoe Smash. It's 6.5%. And I poured this thing, and well, gosh, as soon as I popped the top on this is just super like piney, and like, John, it kind of sounds like one of those smells like one of those concerts from the 1970s. Yeah. It's got that like piney, woodsy type of note to it.
Little dank, just a little bit dank.
Just a little bit. It smells like I'm listening to Sublime right now. And yeah, on the palate, just I mean, I know it looks a little bit hazy. I don't think it's intentionally done that way. But it's got like a rich and yet clean mouthfeel on this. I'm liking this quite a bit. And again, I'm drinking this out of my IPA glass, not for any other intention that it was the cleanest glass in the house. So there we go.
Simcoe is a beautiful hop when it's fresh. It does not last long in the can. Remember, we had that guy from Avery on.
Yep.
Hundreds of episodes ago, and it was Simcoe goes long in the tooth pretty quick when the bottles or cans are sitting on the shelf. So I'm glad it was fresh for you.
And so everybody, if you're thinking about your local breweries and they're just sitting on kegs right now, buy up those easy spoilers now, because you're going to be bummed 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Or buy the kegs. Hey, everybody, if you have the ability to tap a keg, all us small breweries would love for you to buy a keg.
There you go.
We would.
Nothing like doing keg stands when you're alone in your house.
And please bring it back.
Oh yes, that's we've heard about virtual wine tasting, virtual keg stands. That could be a whole new kind of thing. All right, Corey, the man that we're all going to be jealous of what you're drinking tonight. What do you have in your glass there?
Yeah, so I do have a Dueling Pistols. This is the Petite Syrah Cabernet Sauvignon 50/50, 2016, and so just to be candid with your listeners, I am no wine expert. I do enjoy it, but my language is going to be amateurish. But what I do love about this, this is the heaviest bottle of wine I've ever held. So I love the glass that they used. I love the "See You at Dawn"
that's awesome,
here, right?
Yep.
Love that, and the DP Dueling Pistols.
Nice.
Wow.
And it's what I noticed when I was pouring it is the richness of the color. Mm-hmm. Something that I might refer to as plum. You might have different language that's more expert than mine. And I don't know what the terminology is that you use when it's this is like blood thick. I mean, it is.
It's very viscous.
Yeah, viscous. Yeah. And in terms of describing it, I couldn't do any justice, but I can say that I'm half a glass in, and I've got a lovely, warm, toasty, cozy feeling going on.
That's wonderful. And you said this one was the Cab Petite Syrah?
Correct.
That's totally expected, especially with that Petite Syrah, that it's going to have that weight. That's awesome. Is it feeling kind of like tannic in your mouth, like kind of like chalky and maybe even a little drying around the outsides of your cheeks? Or
it is a little bit. I've certainly had wines where that is more pronounced in a way that I don't necessarily care for. This is that is present for me without being overwhelming.
Nice.
So Corey, you're drinking the Paso Robles red blend.
Thank you. Yes.
They also have a second one, which is the Dry Creek Valley red blend, which is a 50-50 of Syrah and Zinfandel. The fun fact I liked about the Paso Robles blend is that they said the cab lightens the Petite Syrah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
what I like as a difference is that what I'm drinking is after they've drawn their weapons, and the other one is prior to firing at each other.
Yes, I noticed in the images. Yeah, very unique, very smart way of doing it. I really liked it a lot. I am sticking with my plan of just drinking local Colorado Springs beer during this time. So I am going with, from Red Lake Brewery, I'm starting out with the Howitzer Amber Ale.
Ooh.
And if that one runs dry, which it will, John Reed, I'm going Bristol. I'm going with the Bristol Brewery Compass IPA.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a classic for the
Yeah.
It's a classic.
So those were the two I'm drinking tonight. So that's what we got. Jeff, are you ready now?
Oh yeah.
All right, let's warm up our brains before we kill all the cells with a little bit we like to call
wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference. This is where I am going to give the panel and the lovely viewers tonight at welikedrinking.com/show. I'm going to give everybody. What's that, sir?
Rambunctious group tonight.
They're having their own party, and we're just kind of background music. So I'm going to give y'all a term, and you got to tell me, is this a wine term, a beer term, spirit term, or some sort of pop culture reference? Everybody in the chat, just throw it out when you hear it. And I want like reasonings behind it too, while I interrogate these knuckleheads that I'm speaking with live. The term this week is chunk. Is chunk a wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference? I'm actually going to go with Jeff Eccles first because I see he was typing it out in the notes and he spelled it wrong.
Oh,
so
how, Jeff Solomon, do we spell a chunk?
Chunk is spelled, it's kind of like tsunami. TSCHUNK. Chunk.
Well, that changes things.
I'll say it changes things.
Originally, I was going to go with a pop culture reference and the Goonies, and I thought we were all going to have to start,
I was going to ask if we needed to correct the pronunciation. Chunk, right?
Chunk.
By the way, my buddy Scott watching live right now said beer, as in I found a chunk in my beer.
It's almost as bad as finding a chunk in your milk.
And actually, when Green Lake Girl from Twitter just said something about chunky milk, so I think we're all on the same page here. Everybody else is going nuts.
All right, so chunk. This I'm going to say that this is going to be a wine term, and this is going to be some kind of rare, unknown Ukrainian grape that they're making a wine out of. I'm sure it's completely wrong, but that's just what I'm going to go with.
Eccles says it's a wine term, some rare Ukrainian grape. Okay. Yeah. Corey, what are you thinking when you hear chunk?
Yeah, no, I actually have the answer for this one. I've been, I'm very up on current events, and so when wine gets, it is Eccles is correct in that it is a wine-related reference. When wine gets infected with COVID-19, it can't aerate properly, and it gets chunky. Yeah.
So I hear Corey kind of splitting the difference here and saying it's a wine term, but with a pop culture twist because of a COVID-19 infection. All right, so I'm going to say wine / pop. John Ruyak, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think this is a wine term. I'm going to go a little farther southwest of the Ukraine, and I'm going to think this is some sort of Hungarian grape.
Okay, so I've got Ruyak saying it's some sort of Hungarian grape, and I just have to call this one out right now. Our buddy Methyl Ethel says, beer. Sounds like the sound that's made when you tap the bug on a wooden cask. All right, so the answer is, and I believe our friend Mark in the chat might have gotten this one right, though the specifics are a little off here. Chunk is a popular cocktail in Germany. It's made of light or dark rum, brown sugar, crushed ice, lime cubes, and a drink called Club Mate, which is like a caffeinated mate extract type of drink. So I guess it's kind of like their Red Bull. Pour it all in a highball glass. What's interesting about Chunk is that it's really popular amongst European hackers. So when the show gets shut down, blame the Chunk.
Have you ever tasted a chunk, Jeff?
No. I don't even know how this came across my radar. It just did. It might have been from that, every day or so, the Apple App Store tells me that they charge me $500 and click this link to clear that up. And so I click the link, and next thing you know, I'm looking at a recipe for chunk. So
perfect. All right, Corey Blake. I think we're ready to get to the interview portion of the show.
Sweet.
We like to get to it right away. We value your time so much that we just get right to the interview portion of the show. So Dueling Pistols, what a unique idea, partnership that you guys have going on. I think it's really fun how people are always trying to come up with different ways of pairing wine with whatever. Pair it with your Easter candy, pair it with the change of the weather, pair it with your underwear, whatever. But there's not a whole lot that are going through and saying, we're going to write an entire 10 episode story driven podcast to pair with wine. That's a great idea. So I'm really curious to know, how this all came about. How did Dueling Pistols come about?
Sure. Not Gottfried over at Terlato found our company. My company is called Roundtable Companies, and we're a storytelling company. We work with all kinds of businesses. And she saw we had done a whole series of we took a bunch of best-selling business books and turned them into comic books, graphic novels.
Yeah.
And she had seen those, and she was curious actually about a graphic novel approach. And we started developing the story, not knowing exactly what the output would be, but we developed. They started by sharing the label with us. They had the label before they came to us, and it told the story, right? You got these two guys at opposite ends, and obviously, if they're back to back right here, but if you unwrap the label, they're 20 paces apart and ready to fire. And there's these 7 folks in the background here that are kind of witnessing what's going on. And so, my immediate thinking was, there's a story there to be told, and these 9 characters, who are they? And so we started with the development of who they were, and eventually the podcast idea seemed like a really juicy outlet to take these people on this 10-episode adventure.
That's awesome. And what an adventure it is. I don't want to speak to it because I'm worried I will give away a bunch of spoilers. Like, if you can tell, I've had to diagram it out behind me so I could make sure I was keeping track of everything that was going on in the show.
That's amazing.
So, and you give us kind of the storyteller, how will you characterize this podcast for our listeners?
Well, we set it in 1840s Gold Rush, California. And there was just this immediate feeling that we had of kind of a tombstone, kind of a setting. And so this is the story of how these 9 folks come together, and throughout the story, you don't know which ones are necessarily going to be the ones that are dueling. Right, so that's some of the fun of putting it together. But it's a story of how these 9 people traveling from all across the country. What are the reasons that they're all ending up in California? And some of them are there, pursuing love. Some of them are there pursuing gold. Some of them are there for ambition. And the goal was to create these 9 characters based on folks that we spoke to at Terlato, and to then put them in situations where they started to collide with one another and see what would ensue. So the process that we use when we create story is very organic. We don't necessarily know where it's going. Our goal is to write enough backstory for the characters that they start speaking for themselves. And so then once we started actually getting into, by the time we got into the story, we had written hundreds of pages on who these characters were and everything that happened in their lives before they get to this point where they start interconnecting. And by that time, when they get into a room together, they have their own conversations. And we really, if we do enough of the work on the backstory, then our job is just to let them speak through us.
So that's kind of interesting because relative to what precipitated the idea of the podcast, and that was to promote the wines for Terlato, I was kind of curious as to whether or not, because of the name of the wine, that you somewhat worked backwards. But it seems like you didn't do that.
What would it have been in your mind if we had worked backwards?
Here's the name of this wine. This is the name of this podcast, and we've got an end event. And how did we walk that end event back through and develop it in that way?
Gotcha. To some degree, I think we did do that, right? Because we knew the ending. We knew that, although while we were writing it, we did not know who was going to end up actually in the duel. But we knew that 2 folks were, and we had to figure out, how was that going to come about. So we started knowing that we had 2 duelers and 7 witnesses. And then the question became, how did they get there? What do they mean to each other? What are they fighting for within the story? And then who at the end of the day are the 2 that are raising their weapons?
Yeah, I guess maybe John's question was, did you have that photo when you started?
We did. Yeah, we had the label. They brought us the label, and we knew. Yeah, so that's how we knew. We actually, when we were setting it in Gold Rush, California, we had to make sure that there were times that it did actually snow out there. Otherwise, the label wouldn't make sense. Like, there was tons of research that was done on the time period to make sure that it suited the label that they brought us. And then crazy coincidence, one of our writers who was working on this project was on a plane, struck up a conversation with the dude next to her, happened to be the guy who designed the label.
No way.
Nice.
Absolutely crazy, right?
That is so cool. And I was actually going to ask this, and it's kind of been answered organically here. I know that we started with a label, and we start to build this story, and we're developing all these characters, and we're figuring out how they mesh together. I'm wondering, along with that storyline and putting together this podcast, was there then feedback that you were able to give in terms of other aspects of the packaging or like the liner notes or anything like that?
I got to think about that. Not the packaging, but certainly in terms of the anything story related, we were ultimately responsible for, and the team over there at Terlato was a blast to work with. I mean, the marketing group was fun and appreciative of the way that we approached this stuff, and it was and one of the fun aspects for us particularly was we did this interview with a wide range of folks over there, influential people over there. They don't know whose character is who. We do.
That was
I see that because okay, because I want to know if you had to. Well, one of the characters dies a rather ignominious death in an early episode. So, so is everybody at the winery like, oh, I wonder if I'm that person?
Everyone thinks they're the cool character or the hero, right? Like,
well, she wasn't a cool character. Ooh, sorry.
So nobody thinks they're her,
right? Well, speaking of cool characters, if you're cool with it, I think we should introduce everybody to a couple of the characters.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we've got a little clip here. So we didn't get to talk about this before, but just leading in, I'm going to say that this is Emma and Edward, and they're having a conversation about some potential business that they could start together.
This is a family show?
No, it's not. All right, here it is.
I've noticed that the men in drag digging seem to outnumber the women at a ratio of 4-1, and that's just here in town. Might I ask what the mayor's position would be on the topic of salon keeping? In particular, the keeping of a rather licentious salon.
Why, Emma Davis, you do continue to surprise. How entrepreneurial of you.
I bring some expertise on the subject and some cash. I'll need a partner.
The arrangement?
I manage the cash flow, I hire the girls, I attract the clientele, I set the prices. You find us the property, you ensure we have protection on the premises for when men get out of hand. We each put in $2,000 startup costs, and we share equally in the profits.
You've done this before.
I have, successfully.
Any other stipulations?
Yes, I'm not for sale. I run the business, I do not service the customers, and I don't mix business with pleasure.
Well, that might be a problem, because I'm beginning to find you irresistible.
I don't need a lover. I need a partner.
I believe you've just found one.
Nice.
Their relationship is my favorite.
It is a really good relationship, and it's two of the more dynamic characters in the show. They hold the most surprise, I guess, in them. I would almost say, Eli, you kind of know what you're getting right out of the gate. Wyatt, you kind of know what you're getting, but these two they ebb and flow throughout the podcast, and I really enjoy both of those characters. So what can you tell us about them, I guess?
Sure. Well, Emma comes from this seedy background where she was originally raised in New York, but found herself in Australia, where she became this madam and had a rather successful business until the governor got out of control, and she ends up needing to do away with him, and finds herself now in America and trying to do what she knows how to do. And Edward's wonderfully complex. He's grown into quite a horrible human being, and yet he's got aspects of his past and the previous love in his life that are really sweet and sincere. And so we know he has that capacity and capability, but his girl was taken away from him through a sexually transmitted disease, and went crazy, and he ended up being the one who takes her life. So he's had a really rough go, and he's just had to say fuck the world at this point.
Yes, he does.
I'm kind of interested in, maybe anyway. I mean, I saw that, he got the rash. But how is it that he hasn't gone down that same path as his old love?
Do you not recall the syphilis from your high school education?
I do. I had to relook up the symptoms and stuff because
It
was
a
that
while
sounds
since you
familiar.
took those pills. I get it.
Right, exactly. I have to look like I don't know what it is. This show could take a real turn at this point.
No.
There's a gestation period. There's a very significant gestation period, and so she had acquired it likely a decade before she met him, and he got it.
Right. I love, I do a lot of driving for my hobby, and a lot of times I end up listening to old NPR feeds of the golden age of radio serials, and just the way that this was constructed like that. I think. I mean, was that just something that just like do boom? We're doing it like this. We're doing it like golden age of radio serial style.
So we were responsible for producing the script, and I desperately wanted to produce it and direct it, and it just wasn't in the cards for a number of reasons. And so they took it to a company called Podfly, which does a lot of different podcast kind of content. I don't think they do a huge amount of fiction stuff, but they were the one to make the determination kind of around some of the style and the sound effects, and they hired the actors and did that portion. So when I was envisioning, when our team was working on the writing of it, I think it would have it would have had an old timey feel to it. But that, how they came up with that, I at the end of the day would have to ask them.
So I have to wonder then, I always feel like, everybody kind of goes through this, like you read a book before you see the movie, and like you have the way characters look and sound and act, and even like the way that their dialogue came out. I would have to imagine that now, listening to this finished project of these characters that you had a heavy hand in creating, did you listen to some of them? Do you go like, this is good, but it doesn't sound the way that I thought it was gonna?
Oh, it's pure torture. It really, I mean, as an artist, the handing over of material for me is excruciating, because I have a very distinctive vision for how I see something. I was invited in after all of the actors had been recorded and they had done an initial pass of all of the editing together and the sound effects. I went to New York and spent a day and a half with them and helped to tighten some things up, but there's a lot that I would have done differently. I had somewhat of a different vision. I would have likely hired a different kind of actor for a lot of it. So some of it is just, the artistic, approaches and differences. But yeah, when you have a very strong sense of vision and then you have to turn it over, I would imagine a lot of people just have to suffer through the pain of it being different than what you imagined. And I'm certainly, I fit that bill.
Oh, I feel you. Like I write the intros every week, and then Eccles just butchers my punchlines.
Right? I mean, it's just rude.
If you gave me the script more than 32 seconds before we hit record, maybe I could get your.
We're all professionals, Eccles.
I thought you were a pro. I mean, you're making us fill out taxes. We didn't make any money, but.
Here's your K1. You made nothing. Congratulations.
Yes. Add that 3 to your taxes. You're welcome. All right. John or Jeff, any other questions for Corey before we move on?
Yeah. And I guess this goes more to like the creative side in general. Is this? I know it's different for different clientele. Is this the first like story-driven podcast that you've helped put together?
It is the first podcast. Yeah. So we've worked in graphic novels. We work in documentary films. We do a lot of book material. We do a lot of various kinds of storytelling. But this was the first for now. And I'd done a lot of scripting before, but not exactly for a podcast. So that was new. I'd love to do one in the future. My vision of putting together a successful podcast, like I would hire all the actors, bring them away to a cabin, get everyone to work on it for 4 or 5 days, and then record it together. Like, to me, that is heaven. Absolutely. Like, really finding the pulse of something and creating this collaborative environment. And that was part of my pain in this process of the handoff, was that I didn't get to live that out. And, but no doubt I'll at some point get to do that in the future. I mean, this was really fun to do our portion of it. And so I would say I'm addicted at this point.
And I would imagine, a lot of times people sell themselves short, like, because I know we're such intimidating characters over here. They go, oh, I don't know that much about wine.
Sweat. You can
see. But anybody with a working taste buds, can definitely get down with some wine. So I have to imagine spending a lot of time with the folks at Terlato. You got to taste a lot. I was wondering, of the 2 Dueling Pistols wines, which one is your favorite? And did they take you on any like amazing like cave tours or like barrel tastings or anything too?
No. No, I didn't. Thanks for bringing it up, Solomon. So just so happens that over here on the North Shore of Chicago, I'm 20 minutes from them. So Terlato, I don't know if their headquarters is in this kind of this building that looks like an old castle. And it's old and it's antique and it's beautiful. And so I certainly was there a number of times and did tastings in this beautiful tasting room that they have, and spent good time with them. Went out to New York and did that. They sent me, they sent me off with wine. I got a bunch of wine for the holidays too, which was super kind. I will say by far the Paso Robles that's my jam. I dig it. I really, really love this bottle. Of the 2, that's my fave.
Nice.
So Corey, having been an actor, I'm wondering if you can just real quick give us your best maniacal laugh.
Maniacal laugh?
Yeah. Like the evil villain laugh. That's fun. So I am known for a laugh. I'm one of those people who has a boisterous laugh that yes. I'm trying to keep a little bit quiet right now because it's 10:15 at night and my wife's upstairs asleep because we're in quarantine. But I'm one of those people that one of my favorite comments that I heard was at a conference last year when I was in the ballroom and someone on the second floor was like, I knew where Corey was. Maybe that's a little maniacal. Okay. Because in my head, here's what happened.
Yes.
I played the last episode.
Mm.
I got to the end of the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
And then we rolled the credits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
That son of a bitch.
And all I could envision is you with your pen and paper and you just went,
yes. Yes. No, the ending is a brutal, non-conclusive moment.
It is a fantastic ending, and I can say that about 10 minutes after got to.
Oh, you cursed me for 10 minutes.
Yes,
I'm gonna call that a success. I'm very happy.
Yes, I may have had to clean some things up in my office. So
episodes 9 and 10 are certainly my favorites, and then 3. I love episode 3 because it starts with the backstory for Edward, which I adore. But 9 and 10, there's a very frantic energy in both of those, and there's a lot of overlapping dialogue and characters and things going, like a lot going on at the same time. That was super fun to write, super challenging to write. But really fun to listen to for me.
Episode 9 was like I was tense. Like it was
nice.
Very tense during the thick portion of that episode, and then you died to me at the end of episode 10.
Corey Blake, you're dead to me, you bastard.
So fantastic.
Love it.
I have one. Oh, do you have another question, John?
No, I was just going to say, if you ever wanted to see the site of a real duel that took place in eastern Colorado at the border of Colorado and Kansas, it's in the South Republican Management Area, and it happened back in the 1870s. I was looking for eastern hognose snakes and drove through this thing, and I saw this blue sign. This is no joke. So, but there's some dude got shot there by a rival back in the 1870s, and there's like this blue metal marker there, and that's it. And I had to go home and look it up on the internet.
It'd be rad if they were just both laying there.
140 years later, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right. So
It's in the middle of a swamp in Colorado, which is kind of rare. So
random thoughts with John React. So Corey, I do have one other question. It has nothing to do with the wine. It has nothing to do with the podcast you created. I kind of go back into your former career.
Sure.
I have two, but I'll only ask the one question. Was his name really Robert Paulson?
That is such a great question. His name was Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson. His name was in death. We have a name. Who knew? Nice, very nice. I'll tell you, that was a gas of a time. I was he's referring to Fight Club. Young actor at the time, looking to get into the union, and I wrote the casting director, and I was like, I'm very passionate about what I do. I need someone to throw me a bone. And she gave me 8 days on Fight Club, and it was pretty miraculous to watch David Fincher direct. And you know, I was a union extra. That's what got me into the union, because they have to, if you're not union and you're going to be under a union contract, they actually have to pay a fee. So someone has to do you a favor. All the other extras are hanging out, playing cards, doing this or that. And I'm like sitting behind the monitors watching David Fincher direct. And Brad Pitt was like sweet as pie. He was just such a lovely, lovely person. Meatloaf was constant comedy, like had everyone in stitches all the time. And Ed Norton was method acting. So he was a complete and total dick. And I didn't understand, to be honest, I didn't understand method acting at the time. I just thought he was an ass. Right. But you know, they would come up to put makeup on. We're doing the scenes down in the basement where he's fighting, and you know, the scene where Angel gets his whole face busted in, and Jared Leto's character, but they're doing makeup on him, and he's throwing the makeup one, like he's just disgusted, like, get the fuck away from me, like, and I'm horrified, like I've never seen anything so unprofessional, rude, or whatever you might call it. And then later I come to understand what method acting is, and I appreciate that. But man, you know, the people who had to work with him, I certainly felt for, because he was living that character all the time.
Well, I'm just glad you didn't run into him when he was method acting on American History X. You walk away like, that dude's fucking racist. Because
I'm a Jew. You knew that. You called that one out, Solomon. I haven't even given you my profile yet. But.
Oh, come on. We're both members of the tribe, man. You can't play me like that.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, I don't need to get curbed. I don't need that.
No one needs that.
I don't need that.
So yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw that you were in Fight Club. I mean, talk about a movie for a generation.
You can't talk about that movie.
That's also true,
man.
That's also true.
I was, and that those basement scenes too, that had to be just a blast to be a part of. So I just wanted to throw that bit out there, because I think you're maybe the most famous person we've ever talked to.
That's kind
Chris
of cool.
It's like got really pissed off at you.
Wow. They did not agree with you at all.
All right. So Corey, that's it for the interview portion of the show. Great job on the show, on the podcast. It was a lot of fun to listen to. If you listen to it, here's what I'll say. As with John and I were talking about it before the show, there's a lot of books that you pick up and you put down because you hadn't got to that 100-page point yet where everything turns and takes off.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing with the show. It takes a couple episodes for kind of the people to kind of get integrated and kind of get to where they're going. But once everybody gets to town, man, it gets really ugly really fast, and it's a fun ride to go on.
I appreciate that. I feel glued to it around the 5th episode, so it takes some commitment for people to get into. But from that point, I do really enjoy it all the way to the end, and I'm glad that I took the journey. But I appreciate, you got to be committed to get through that in order to get the payoff.
Yep, and it does pay off well. So, all right, so we're gonna move on with the show. If you got to go, because I know you're.
I'm hanging. We're having a good time. I appreciate it.
All right, well,
Are we hanging out or are we partying?
That's a fine line, my friend.
Yes, it is.
As soon as I finish this, we might graduate to a little party. What Eccles did not mention was that I've also been naked on camera. And maybe that'll be this class that you'll get. I don't know if you saw that. You were going to mention Mountain Dew.
Full frontal is not in my contract.
What were you saying?
I did a commercial where I played basketball in the nude, and it is the funniest damn thing you'll ever watch. It's 30 seconds of my badass when I was in pretty sweet shape 10, 20 years ago.
What was it?
It was a commercial for a company called Yard Fitness, and the whole motto was be comfortable in your own skin. And I was very comfortable in my skin. So it's a bunch of dudes trying to play shirts and skins with me when I have no clothes on. And it is repulsive and hilarious and friggin' brilliant.
All right, they're gonna get a spike in views.
They're all gonna be John.
All right, let's move on into booze news. We're just interesting, noteworthy, or sometimes some pretty silly things. All right, so not necessarily a news story this week, but we're seeing states all across our nation go into shelter-in-place mode for the COVID-19 outbreak. And in a lot of these cities and states, you're seeing you can only go out for essentials, right? And alcohol in most of these states are considered essential products. So your liquor stores, your breweries, your wineries are essentially open. You can't go in, but you can get liquor.
I'm pretty sure there's one state that isn't.
Yeah, I know. Pennsylvania did close down all their liquor stores.
So there's 2 states.
Yeah, what's the other one?
Utah.
Well, yeah. But I've seen some people.
We've got a lot of listeners in Utah.
Yeah, I've seen people posting a lot of questions of why is this? Why are we considering alcohol to be an essential? I think we all have our take on it, but I wanted to get your guys' take on is this valid to say that alcohol is an essential for a lockdown like this?
Wow.
Now, and I do want to. Okay, no, I'm not going to tell a story. Jeff, what are your thoughts here?
I think there's a couple different angles here. So if you want to be like, here's the United States centuries behind, millennia behind like European drinking culture. And we're finally coming around to this idea of like beer and wine as being a food, being a part of the meal. We're getting closer and closer to that point, right? I would love to believe that that's the reason why it's being deemed unessential, right? I will say that there are a lot of wine bars and brew pubs that serve food as well that are being classified as restaurants. But then we also need to be really, 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 really real, right? if you want people to stick to a shelter in place, but you tell them they can't get their booze or their weed in states where it's legal, people are gonna throw a fucking fit, man. We're talking about whether or not, like, we saw a bunch of kids playing on the playground the other day, and how that made us feel. Imagine how it would make everybody feel if all of a sudden they couldn't get their fix. Look, beer and wine, I know it's everywhere. But it's the most American thing of all time. And if you're gonna tell me I can't get access to this, that's fucking un-American, man. So I think really that's where it comes from, right? Like, if they did something like that, you would have to have tanks in the streets. You would have to, right? Because people would go ape shit.
Yeah,
people would go ape shit.
Yeah. Corey, what are your thoughts?
Well, Angela Merkel taught us what essentials are: toilet paper and wine.
Yep.
Right. She was seen in the grocery store, toilet paper, 4 bottles of wine. But we've also missed a key component. So there's wine, there's weed, there's toilet paper, and there are crafts, right? Because Michael's Crafts is also an essential. They have remained open as well. So Americans, we have our needs, and they vary. But I tend to agree in this situation. We don't want to complicate things by taking away vices that actually are somewhat, like, people need ways to escape and ways to have fun and ways to feel comfortable in their own home. Or you're right, people are going to go bananas, and we don't need people losing. I mean, how many people are trapped with their spouse and their kids in their house? Like, if you don't let them do something to get this out, it can't just be exercise all the time. We got to have some things that we enjoy too. People are gonna lose their shit for sure.
Yeah, and outside of everything you guys have said, which I totally agree with, there's the virus piece to it as well, because here's what happens, and we've seen this happen. I'm going to tell you 2 stories. In Pennsylvania, they said, okay, the liquor stores are all closing down at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Well, what do you think happened? It was like the 30s run on a bank. The liquor stores all had lines out the door. No one was following 6 feet procedures away from. There was no social distancing. It was a run on the liquor stores. And then in Denver, here in Colorado, Denver said, you know what, Colorado, you're not going on statewide lockdown. We're going to go on citywide lockdown. So Denver's going to shut down, and we're going to say that liquor stores aren't essentials. Within 3 hours, they said, yeah, sorry about that, y'all. We're going to go ahead and have liquor being an essential, because within 30 minutes, the lines were forming outside the stores, and they were doing as a city. So every liquor store that was 10 feet past the border of the city had a line out the door, because if we're going to be on lockdown, like, there's a reason that we all drink extra during the holidays, because we're stuck in with a lot of people for a long time. We need some escapes. John, any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah. In the brewing industry, I'm not working a lot, or at all, actually. The owner of a brewery is like, you know what? It would just be so much easier if the governor just said, shut it all down. Because, I've already told him, look, I'll come in and I'll do a few things here and there, but I've had pneumonia 4 times. So I'm only going to come in there and do this when no one else is here. I don't want to be here when we're serving on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. I love our customers, but I can't take that chance. I don't know where they've been. They're dragging shit from all over the Northeast Heights of Albuquerque. I can't tell. Mm-hmm. And Tracy or Dan wipes everything down with Clorox when they close up after a growler fill day. But I just can't be there. And truthfully, employers are responsible for providing a safe work environment, and that includes communicable disease.
Yeah.
So for an owner of a business, and even though it's been deemed essential, you're exposing your employees to stuff that could cause them great harm. So I go in there voluntarily, but I do it at a great distance. I'm practicing extreme. I mean, I went into Sprouts today and I waited for the lady they didn't have any wipes. And here comes the lady with her bucket. And I waited there until I said, hey, look, you're going to come sanitize this thing before I put my hands on it. Right. I got to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not paranoid, but shit, you've seen me miss a month of hockey because I was sick in the hospital, right?
Yeah. The deck's stacked a little bit against you in this case, John. Like,
yeah.
Paranoid has never been called
So it just, and when the governor of New Mexico came out and said, you assholes, I told you to stay home. She basically came on and said this. She said, you guys are fucking idiots. She didn't say that, but if you read between the lines, she's like, come on, folks. I told you need to practice social distancing and you fucked up. So now I'm closing down all the non-essential businesses.
yeah. I think that's
we don't have beaches here, but everybody's up in the foothills climbing all over the place. 600,000 people are along the edge of the Sandia Mountains going out into the wilderness because they never knew it was there before. But now that they're stuck in the house, they sure know it's there.
yeah. That's basically what is happening in all these states. It's like, okay, we tried to let yourself handle it your own, but you're all too immature. So
yeah.
Dad's got to lock the doors. So, all right.
Anyway, am I glad that the owner of my business is going to get some money because, every couple of days we make a couple $100 in growler fills. Yeah, that's good because that's going to help in the long run. But there's drawbacks to it. There's things to consider. There's a lot of things to consider about this, but we won't go into that. That's not the nature of our podcast. But anyway, that's So, for me, it's kind of it's a catch-22.
Okay, but do you think it should be labeled a non-essential?
Both me and my owner were kind of like, yeah, let's be non-essential so we can just get this shit over with, lock it down for 3 or 4 weeks, knock this thing down, and then go back to business as usual.
There is that argument, right? It's like, all right, y'all, you got 3 days and then shut it all down for 14 days. Like,
Stock up.
Lock up everything. So we won't do that though, because America. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Okay, guys, anything else on that, or are we all good?
We played this one out.
Excellent. Well, if John's throwing everybody out of his brewery, and our guest is playing basketball naked with Robert Paulson, it must be last call. Time to clean house, lock the doors, and break out the Clorox wipes. You know what we do here, folks. We're looking for a little bit of help with you. John Ruyek, if the folks want to follow us on the social media platforms, where can they do so?
You can do that at Twitter. That's Real Like Drinking 1. That's numeral 1. Instagram, We Like Drinking. And really, just the private Facebook group, The Tavern. WeLikeDrinking.com/tavern, or on the Facebooks. Ask to join. We'll let you in. It's fun.
It's a lot of fun. I tell you what. Your local tavern may be closed, but the We Like Drinking Tavern
we're always open
for business and very full. Corey, one last time, where are the best places to find you and all your doings on the social media platforms?
They can find me at Corey Blake 9000 Instagram and Twitter. Corey Michael Blake on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Awesome. All right, Jeff Solomon.
Yeah.
If the folks want to leave us a review of our podcast, where can they do so?
Well, look, first of all,
all
these freeloaders watching us live for free on YouTube right now. They got there from welikedrinking.com/show. Make sure to mash the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you get those notifications. Bazoing. Okay, but those of you listening to the audio only version, you're probably listening to us on Apple Podcasts, but whatever platform that is, take a look at your phone right now. This is the first time ever somebody's saying, look at your phone for once in your life. Scroll down to where you see those empty 5 stars, mash that 5th star, and leave us an honest review. Tell us how great our show is. You could say some negative shit. I don't care. It's engagement. I mean, you guys know the algorithm as good as anybody else, which means you don't know what the hell goes into it. So just write whatever the fuck you want, and let's move up those ratings.
Is that the 5th star from the right or the left?
Yeah, go backwards. I don't give a shit.
Jeff Solomon, while they're at it, is there another podcast they could go leave a review for?
Well, sure there is. They could go look up the Dueling Pistols podcast by Terlato Wines. Actually, literally mash the 5 star for them and tell them how amazing, especially like the whole creative like story behind it was. I think they'd really appreciate that.
Of course we would.
And if you've done all that and you want to do more, become an Uber supporter of the show by visiting welikedrinking.com/pledge to find out how you can become an official sponsor of the show for as little as $1 a month.
What the fuck is wrong with you people?
25 cents a goddamn week. Come on.
We're bleeding you dry with our asks. I know. But there's lots of cool stuff you can get. Go check it out. Really, for the after party, it's worth it alone.
Guacamole recipes.
All the things. So
for Solomon to get his tax return appropriately done, we need 9 of you to commit to get to $3 a guy.
We would like to go non-parenthesis next year, if at all possible.
We just missed. Come on. It was close. It was so close.
You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/episodes. All right. Another book of chaos is in the books, but we reach the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around the table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
Okay, Corey, question. Your Instagram is Corey Blake 9000. Can the 3 of us show up on your Instagram with just the back of our heads in silhouette and yell at your Instagram posts?
Please, that sounds like the most amazing time. I have no idea what it means, but I want.
That's like Mystery Science Theater. Come on. Did I have to explain that to you, Eccles? For
yeah,
God's
you had to explain.
You did have to explain
everybody.
It. But what I imagined was lovely.
Yes, John. Let me give you a bit of advice. If you're ever going to drop a Mystery Science Theater 3000 joke, you're probably going to have to fucking explain it.
I used to love that show, and I still didn't get it.
Especially if you have to do math. If you got to divide by 3 to even figure out your joke, you're screwed from the beginning.
Jeff Solomon.
See, what you do is, okay, multiply it by 2, and then add another 2,000, and then you're in a submarine.
Welcome, Andrew Dice Solomon.
Oh, hey, I want to say something for real. I had some life hacks last week. Life hacks. And I just have one more. People are dealing with everything that's going on in different ways. And you need to, everybody, give each other the benefit of the doubt right? And like, quit being assholes to each other. No. Stop being assholes to each other. And if you find yourself being like super aggravated by every single post from one particular person in your feed, I've got a remedy for you. Fucking unfollow them, and then you won't be aggravated anymore. It's this crazy thing.
I've done that.
You
It's,
get
it's,
to
it's,
choose.
It's beautiful.
You get to choose who pisses you off and who doesn't. So everybody here complaining about how I'm treating you and I badger you as an audience, fucking don't listen to the show if you don't like it.
Stop telling people not to listen to our show.
If they've been listening this long, they love it. You're fucking hooked. We're like the booze industry during a shutdown. We're essential.
Corey, any final thoughts?
Good Lord, gentlemen. I will just share that this has been a blast. I don't get to do many drinking party shows, so thank you for having me on. This is wonderfully entertaining. I'm also adulting here because it's 10:47 in Chicago, and I'm still awake, and I'm feeling very mature. And it took a quarantine and a podcast to do it. So thank you for having me. Thank you for being so generous with your time, and be well. But everyone take care of yourselves, because we got a lot more laughing and a lot more playing to do in life. So people got to survive this thing and stick together.
That's right. What, John?
I think there's a bit of information that everybody's waiting for.
Is there?
Yeah.
All right. Well, can I get my bit out first?
Sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, Corey, man, I really appreciate staying up late and coming on the show, and the amount of work it had to take to put your creative podcast together had to be immense, and it was well worth it for what you produced, because it is a very entertaining piece of fiction. So thank you for putting it together and putting such hard work into it. It was great work.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Here we go, John. And with that, I'll say thank you for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast.
Where you'll never drink alone. My knuckles are still the hairiest.
Is that the competition?
Nobody wants to hear.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Oh, shit. What's going on over in the chat, Solomon?
People are going nuts. Everybody's like lashing out, like, you know. Yeah, they're all like, yeah, definitely mute people on Facebook. It's the greatest thing ever.
All right. Yeah.
Aren't we addicted to our own aggravation, though?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We absolutely are.
I need that blood pressure spike every couple hours.
That endorphin rush when you're like, oh, I'm going to fucking own this person right now with hashtag facts. And then they're not reasonable.
Right.
Because we are.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
I'm
All right.
listening to reason.
I'm trying to use the phone.
I can't believe, Ruyak, that you dropped the Mystery Science Theater 3000 joke on us, and then we're offended that we didn't get it.
Because we're the assholes. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Like, once you said it, I was like, damn, John, that's funny.
Once you explained it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, heads up, John. You're the guy who got muted. Sorry.
Happens all the time. I'm used to it.
Probably because of the way you wear your headphones. What are you doing?
I'm getting cauliflower ear from my headphones.
And Solomon, what the hell? I've been watching you this entire time. Why the hell do you wear that damn thing over your shoulder?
It's my whoopee. It's my whoopee.
You never even used it.
I did. I go off camera because I don't want to. You don't want to see.
Because I've already coughed all over the microphone.
I mean, I guess it would have been like a cross-platform type of thing if I started picking for gold, like right in front. But
Huh.
No,
That'd be like a digging creek.
So, Corey, you'll appreciate this, having led a production of a lot of people. So everybody on a team has their role, right? They all have jobs, right? So Jeff Solomon, I tasked him with a lot of things. One of the things I tasked him with is he's kind of supposed to be our the voice of the listener. So he monitors the chat and he's supposed to fill us in. But really what he does is he just monitors the chat and
he doesn't fill us in.
He's having his own private joke over there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to fucking overwhelm, man. If like you don't even know like how I wish I could mute some of the people in the chat, honestly. You know who I'm talking to. You know who I'm talking to.
We appreciate how hard you're working over there, Solomon.
I did take a quick look though, and Chelsea seems to really be happy that you didn't say, or be upset that you didn't say stop the music, and she wants a Jeff Solomon serenade.
Oh my god.
What does that sound like?
Put me on the spot. What do you want me to say?
I
did my Neil Young to open the show. What the fuck? What do you people want from me? Chelsea, go ahead.
To live on Sugar Mountain with the barkers and the colored balloons.
And no one ever asked John Ruyak to sing on the show.
So right now, no joke. To anybody who wants to name any song that appeared on the radio between 1995 and 2006, and I will sing it. The first one I see. Eyes closed.
I can't wait.
Oh, you got stumped. Motherfuckers got stumped.
These chat folks who can't shut up, don't have an answer? Come on.
Yeah.
Give us an 11-year time frame.
They got
nothing because none of them worked in a record store like I did.
Hearing it now. Just look at the live feed of Jeff's eyes is still closed.
What are you hoping what are they hoping they request?
Oh God.
So you can show off like a badass.
Yeah, because my voice, it's fucking these pipes
you're an angel, brother.
Pipes are golden.
Yeah.
Smells like Teen Spirit. Bop.
That's quite the spectrum.
You know what it was with the bop and like I remember there was this awful t-shirt. Where are we still streaming on YouTube? We must be.
Absolutely.
Oh God. So okay. So I won't say what I want to say about Hanson, but what I will say is
it's already been said. You can trust that.
What I will say is there was like what the fuck was up with that song? Like, tell me which one grows. Like, what the fuck are you singing about? Bop is I remember Lil Jon was being interviewed and people were asking him like, so Lil Jon, what does crunk mean? And he goes, crunk is when you get in someone's face and go, I don't give a fuck. And it's like this totally like nonsensical thing, and I feel like I just envisioned Hanson like being interviewed like 1,000 times, like, what does bop mean? And just one of them be like, it's like when you get in someone's face and say, I don't give a fuck. That's
bop, bitch.
Yeah, you just got Hanson.
Oh, God.
What if To Catch a Predator, that guy's last name was Hanson, right? Like he comes in like so he fucking lays out this whole thing like, I see your online profile and you're talking to 12-year-olds, and then all of a sudden like the Hanson brothers walk in and they all come in and go Bop! And then they just walk away. You just got Hanson.
And then you get arrested.
It's a lot of Ice Baby and Teen Spirit. And I will just say, I said the range was 95 to 2006. Smells Like Teen Spirit came out in 1991, 92.
Yeah.
And Ice Baby came out in 1990. So, fuck you guys. You don't even know how to read dates.
Crazy short story. Smells Like Teen Spirit, directed by Samuel Bayer, who directed my Mountain Dew commercial. Crazy ass motherfucking dude.
Really?
This is the kind of guy who, like, literally, when he got upset, he threw his cell phone and told someone to get him another one. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding.
Do you know who I am? I directed one of the 50 best Super Bowl commercials of all time.
Damn right. You know who I am. Fuck Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm the Mountain Dew guy. That's lovely.
That's the 70s, dude. You said 95 to 2006.
Chelsea thinks Celine Dion did it in the 1990s, so that's why.
Oh, Chelsea, you're adorable.
Every rose has its thorn.
That's 80s.
It is. Mark says it's from 1996.
Mark. Stub, if you happen to be watching, this is what you guys should do. Do a live episode of One Bourbon, One Shard, or One Beer. Stream it live on YouTube.
It was 5 hours long.
It can probably only go a couple innings, but let the viewers.
I mean, seriously, between the three of you doing all that stuff and on that show, I mean, yeah, that'd be like 5 hours.
I'm never going on their show again. I'm 4-0. I beat the shit out of those guys 4 times. Never lost. I'm done. I retired undefeated.
Yeah, I'm 1-1. That's what, a 667.
Apparently, all of our listeners have seen Celine Dion perform that song in Vegas, and she claimed that she wrote it. I didn't realize what our demographic was, so
jackasses and idiots.
All right.
You know, wine and beer. It's not required to know music.
No, yeah. All right. Live streamers, this was a blast. I'm gonna, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of chatting going on. Jeff Solomon did not keep us up at all on what was going on.
You heard it, folks. He didn't do shit.
Yeah, it would have sounded like the after party, bro. I saved you.
So, viewers, it was awesome having you guys here. If you happen to be a Patreon, remember that we are doing a get together tomorrow night, fuckers. So make sure you show up. It was awesome having you all on the show. Look for more of these and join us next week. We'll be doing it again. Peace out.
Love you guys.
Peace out. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah. Fuck